Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Melissa Pineda, and today I will be discussing the book Primary Greatness by Stephen Covey. So I'm going to tell you in a very short amount of time the things I found interesting and important in this book, and then you can decide whether or not you want to invest your time in reading it. So if you do decide to do that, in the description you'll see a link of where you can find the book. So, Primary Greatness by Stephen Covey is a very cool book, especially because it was published after he died. So, he died in 2012, and his son, Sean Covey, and the Franklin Covey organization published it 3 years after he passed. So, before I get into it, though, if there's anything today you hear that you like or find interesting, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. All right, so Primary Greatness is basically based on Stephen Covey's previously unpublished writings, his speeches, and his teachings. So he taught at universities, he wrote countless books and articles, he gave many speeches, he was a motivational speaker, he was an excellent author. Some of his books are very renowned, one of which is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I will be reviewing that shortly. It's an excellent read. Very motivational. He provides a lot of information and it just like good advice that you can use to implement into your life in a relatively easy way with long-lasting impacts. Stephen Covey talks about how complete internal integrity is what will make you successful. Primary greatness is character, whereas secondary greatness is all the external stuff. So like success, money, material items. He talks a lot about what really makes a man or woman, like just in general, man, successful. And it's not, the money, the job, the position you had. It's none of that. It's, your character. It's what people thought of you, what kind of husband, wife, parent you were, friend you were, things like that. He says that primary greatness is living a life centered on principles. And Covey talks about the difference between principles and values. He says that people often get them confused. They think that they mean the same thing, but they don't. He says that principles are not values, and he makes a funny little comment here. He says that a gang of thieves can share values, but they're actually in violation of fundamental principles. So principles are like the territory, and then values are the maps. Principles are guidelines for human conduct that are proven to have an enduring, permanent value. So they're self-evident, they're unchanging, they're deep fundamental truths. And the opposite of that would be like unfairness and deceit. He talks about serving others, having a life, like a purposeful life where you're dedicated to serving others, serving other people, serving your loved ones. He talks also about how imagination and creativity are missing in terms of making meaningful changes. So when people think about making changes in their lives, they're not using their imagination or creativity. They're thinking in terms of how can I make more money, for instance. And he's saying that like there's a different way to look at things that can get you to the same place, but that have more value and meaning at the same time. And he talks about how like personal journals and positive affirmations are very important, that you need to live more in your imagination and memory, he says, but not like bad memory, not like childhood trauma or anything. He talks about how you need to just live more in your good memories, really visualize things, relive good moments, kind of as motivation and inspiration. Covey also talks about your motives, your motivations, and what motives you need to change. So to really reevaluate your motives, what's great about you and the contribution you can make. Like there's a lot of self-reflection in the things that he says and the questions he poses. He says that you should seek first to understand and then be understood. People tend to get them mixed up, because it's a struggle. You want the person you're talking to understand you. You're trying to get your point across. But he's saying you first have to understand them before you can seek to be understood yourself. Covey also says that you need to really question your habits. You need to question, like, what habits do you have that are holding you back? What small changes or tweaks can you make to your habits? What better habits should you have? he says that the arts increase the capacity of the mind to keep learning. So essentially, what he's saying is that like you need to read. You need to read widely. You need to read a bunch of different topics and areas. Anything you're interested in, like just read. But he does specifically talk about the benefits of the arts, studying literature, for instance. He says that you really need to keep learning and that this is everyone's moral obligation. You have to keep learning and you have to keep teaching. And it doesn't matter who you teach, whether it's your kids, your friends, your work colleagues, you need to keep learning and teaching. He says that something might be urgent but not important. And he says that you need to be able to decide what is and is not important and then obviously differentiate between the two. But he's saying that just because something's urgent doesn't actually mean it's important. Whereas you usually think just because something's important doesn't mean it's urgent. But no, he's very clear. Just because something might be urgent, it doesn't mean it's important. And that goes back to really reevaluating your values, your morals, your goals, your character. Because say you're working for someone and they think something's urgent, like maybe it's not. You know, it really depends what's riding on that, I guess. You know, it depends. Do you care about the person who's saying that something is urgent? Do you share the position that that thing is urgent? Anyway, there's a lot of food for thought in this book. There are a lot of really great, just like words of wisdom, advice, things that are little changes that you can make or that you can make for yourself, whether it's in terms of, you know, changing a habit, character building things. But he assists with this, and these are just kind of the things I've pulled out for you to have an idea on what this book is about. And he goes more in depth into how to make these changes and different questions and things you should think of and things like that. Anyway, I will leave it there for now. If you've heard anything today that you found interesting or liked, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, thanks for listening.